All right, today we're going to explore one of the most important and honestly surprising lessons about modern life. And we're going to find it in a place you would probably never think to look.
Yeah, I know. Bear with me for a second. Sometimes the most overlooked everyday things can show us the biggest patterns about our world. And the idea we're digging into today makes a really fascinating case for that. I mean, what if one of the biggest lessons about how we design our entire world, how we solve problems, even how we see ourselves in relationship to nature, what if that whole story is hiding in a bathroom?
So let's get into it. It all starts with a simple story, a tale of two toilets. And this comparison, as simple as it sounds, is the key that's going to unlock this whole big idea. Around the globe, you're pretty much going to find one of two designs. You've got the modern commode, the one, it's elevated, it's a marvel of engineering and plumbing, and for a lot of people, it's a symbol of comfort and progress. And then you have the squat toilet. It's incredibly simple, it's low to the ground, and it's a design that's been used for literally centuries. Now, you might just look at that and think, okay, a small cultural difference, whatever. But if we look just a little bit closer, these two objects actually reveal two completely different ways of thinking about how to solve a problem. And the difference really just comes down to basic human anatomy. See, our bodies evolved way before modern plumbing was a thing. When we sit at a 90-degree angle on a commode, it actually creates a bend in our digestive tract, which means our body has to work harder. Squatting, on the other hand, straightens that path out, and it lets gravity and our own anatomy do the work naturally. So, here's the crucial takeaway. One design, the commode, essentially works around our biology. It uses engineering to create a comfortable solution. The other one, the squat toilet, works with our biology right from the get-go. And that little distinction, it changes everything. And this brings us to these two huge ideas we're going to be talking about. This tension between what we can call engineering intelligence versus something called biological wisdom. Now, engineering intelligence, we're all super familiar with this one. It's that voice that's always asking, how can we make this faster, easier, more convenient? How can we just engineer a fix for this? It's incredibly powerful, and it's pretty much built the world we live in today. But biological wisdom, that's different. It asks a whole other set of questions. It asks things like, wait a minute, how does this natural system or, the human body, how does it already work? And how can we design something that flows with that function instead of trying to fight against it? And this is where things get really tricky, because when our engineering brilliance ignores these basic biological realities, our solutions can end up creating brand new problems. We solve for one thing, like comfort, but we might accidentally cause other issues down the road. Okay, so once you get this idea in your head, you start seeing this exact pattern play out absolutely everywhere. It's not just about toilets. It's in our food, it's in our cities. Let's talk about food. For ages, traditional diets were full of grains like millets. This is a perfect example of biological wisdom in action. These grains are tough, they're full of fiber, and they fit perfectly into their local ecosystems. Then along comes engineering intelligence in the form of the Green Revolution, bringing us these high-yield, processed versions of wheat and rice, all designed for mass production and convenience. And what's the result? Well, it's kind of crazy. Even though there's more food available than ever before, we've seen this massive spike in metabolic diseases. It turns out, when we engineered our food to be convenient, we also stripped out a lot of the fiber and nutrients our bodies evolved to handle. Our biology is struggling to keep up. You see the same pattern in our cities. I mean, they're amazing feats of engineering, right? Built for density and efficiency. But that engineered environment also creates nonstop stimulation, noise, traffic, crowds. To deal with it, our brains do something amazing. They just start filtering people out. It's a survival tactic, but some sociologists say it can weaken the very things we need for empathy and connection. We've engineered an environment that our biology has to constantly work around. So when you start adding up all these examples, it starts to look like we're facing a choice between two really different paths for how we build our civilization. You could call one the commode civilization. Its top priority is convenience. It builds complex systems, it loves processed foods, and its main goal is economic output. The other you could call the nature-aligned civilization. It puts biological alignment first. It prefers simpler, more resilient systems, whole foods, and its ultimate goal is real human flourishing. One is about engineering around life, the other is about designing with it. Now, of course, it's not some simple choice between one or the other. Every society is a mix of both of these ideas. The real challenge, the real work ahead of us, is figuring out how to find the right balance between these two incredibly powerful ways of thinking. And this gets to the absolute heart of the matter, which is this crucial difference between just being smart, having intelligence, and having real wisdom. So here's a useful little mental tool we can all use. Let's call it the Commode test. Before we jump on board with some new technology or idea, we can just ask a few questions. 1. Does this actually align with our biology? 2. Is it working with nature or fighting against it? 3. Does it genuinely make life simpler, or does it just create new things we depend on? And the big one, number 4, what happens if billions of people do this?
Because here's the bottom line. Human cleverness is absolutely incredible. But that cleverness has to be guided by wisdom. Civilizations really thrive when their intelligence and their wisdom are working hand in hand. They start to struggle when our intelligence just completely outruns our wisdom. And that, believe it or not, brings us full circle, right back to where this whole conversation began, a simple, everyday toilet.
Because in those two designs, you see two totally different philosophies. One philosophy builds these complicated systems and then just expects life to adapt to them. But the other philosophy, it takes the time to understand life first, and then it designs systems that work with it, right from the very beginning. In the end, this isn't really about which toilet is better. It's about which philosophy we're going to use to build our future. And the big idea to leave you with is this. The future of our civilization might just depend on our ability to finally learn the difference.